Hello and welcome to this whole thing, which is regarded as like streaming and all that. And I did write hello. These first parts are always horrible because it's just like things never work out the way they should. But then again, let's dive into all sorts of craziness. Hello and welcome again to this lovely streaming. Now, let me talk about some stuff before we get to the questions. I actually do have a couple of questions, but before that, I would very much love to show you something that is interesting to me. So here we go. It's quite fun. It's basically the lexical distance of languages, at least European languages, and it's quite fun because some languages like Italian and Spanish and all that, they are very, very close over here. But then again, Hungarian is over here. It's not even close to Finn or Estonian, because that is just more than 71 something something. So there you have it. Now you know a little bit more about things. So that's quite an interesting thing, because it does show how Hungarian is, how far it is from other languages, and that's why it's very complicated to learn it, and also it's very, very not rewarding, because only 10 million people speak it, and apparently 500,000 of mostly the best of us have already left the country or are leaving, because Hungarian is not that Hungary is not that great of a country. Here it is zoomed in 200%. Wait, there you go. And then this is a little bit better. I know that lots of you watch me on mobile devices, but I do have an insanely big screen which doesn't really help, so I will have to do something about it, to be honest. But when I look at it, to me it's kind of cool. Now, oh, okay. I can also increase the volume. I hope that's fine and you will hear me better. It's important because I have so many important things to say. But hopefully I'm less quiet now. It should be alright unless something happened to my equipment. Well, there we go. Now, what else is there? First of all, lots of people are here already, and that's fantastic. Welcome everyone. And now that we hopefully sorted out the this whole microphone issue, just ask me all the questions. And then until then, I have some stuff to explain. Let's see. Here it is, quite next to this whole picture thing. So explain grammar stuff. That was the idea. So how to learn hajóban, hajón, hajónál. Now that's quite interesting, because as you can see, I just put them in new lines, and what I did was very simple and quite effective. You can see now that whatever these are, they must be attachments. And as such, you only need to learn the attachments. And there is quite something very, very simple to do, which I usually show my students. But right now I have to wait because the computer is off. Anyways, that doesn't concern you. Now, normally what I would say is that you cannot really have an attachment equal to a what do you call them? Oh, good lord. It's Wednesday and I'm already tired, and that's very sad. Now let's just take a break. Let's take a break of all the things that happened, and let's just discuss all things that are close to water, because I'm thirsty apparently. But in the meantime, I'm actively, while I'm stalling, I'm trying to figure out what that is in English and which is a preposition. And I knew that all along. I just wanted to talk about water. So, prepositions. Now, you cannot have that. I cannot explain things like that, and I always try to avoid, but sometimes they are so similar that there is not much to do. Because in the case of nal, that's most probably at something, and this is in something. And then the n, actually it's on, to be honest, that is on something. And there you go. And well, that's right. How to say take a break? To take a break. That would be szünetet tartani. Just have that in mind. Because in all honesty, quite often, and that kind of reminds me that quite often in English and Hungarian can be regarded as languages that are close. Even though in the beginning of this stream I showed you a map describing that they could not be further apart. But the truth is that on a higher level, most languages have the same set of expressions or the same set of desires that they wish to have. So for instance, in English, one must be able to express emotions like love or hate. In Hungarian, we do the same. In English, we have to express taking a break. A break is something that you take. In Hungarian, very similarly, a break is something that you hold. You hold it like if you held a presentation of some sort. So, languages are far apart because their set of low-level expressions are vastly different. So in this case, I'm talking about prepositions versus attachments, or take versus tart, which is hold. But then the desire of the break is similar. The desire to express something that is in or at, or the place actually, is similar. So I guess that is my point. Now, there is a question that nobody asked, but I think it's quite obvious, that how the hell can you learn all the attachments? And I think that most people, at least in my experience, most people that try to learn Hungarian or another language, most people, they actually think that first you have to learn the attachments, then you have to learn something else, and then there is something else above that, below that, next to it, etc. And then there you go, you learn the language. The trick is, I think, that if it wasn't obvious already, there is nothing beyond attachments in Hungarian, or there is very little. In English you have 12 tenses. You have all sorts of phrasal verbs and crazy stuff, and of course Hungarian does have phrasal verbs. But as I usually say, in Hungarian you create stuff from attachments. So if I want it to be really simple about the way Hungarian works, I could say that we have 5 words, and the way you can make these 5 words into 10,000 is to put attachments on them. We have attachments to place things, hence bon, which is in. We have attachments to create different types of words. Let me give you an example. There is the word olvas. Now, before we go on, I want to play a game. And then I want to play a very specific game this time, which hopefully, because I'm evil enough, I can play more in later streams. I want you to take a wild guess regarding olvas. What does it mean? What is that equal to? Because then, in the meantime, I will conjugate it. I conjugate it twice, but still I need the word. What does olvas mean? And if you are watching this as a video, and I'm pretty sure you're still here because you're crazy enough to go through all the previous technical problems and the first 5 minutes of craziness, I still want you to figure that out. What does olvas mean? And then while I'm talking, just keep that in mind. Olvas is something that you can do with your eyes. And then yes, we have a winner at the moment, at this moment, because it really means to read. Now, notice that I put to read there, because in English, when it comes to the dictionary, you need the to. It's the infinitive form. In Hungarian, the way things are in the dictionary is always the third person present tense. And I know that lots of teachers and also lots of books, and I'm not sure about Duolingo and all that sites, if they try to give you this version, that means reading. So that's slightly different. And then I would regard this as not in the dictionary, at least not in this way, because ni is an attachment. Anyways, now that we know what to read is, let's see what the ash does. And it does something very, very simple. It makes it into reading. And now it seems that we have fallen into a trap. Something happened. Because before that I said olvasni is reading, and now I say olvasás is reading. And that again is a low-level difference between English and Hungarian. Because in English, the ing can mean a lot of things. But in Hungarian, as an attachment, we have lots of those. So in English, I would use olvasni, reading, when I connect it to another verb. While olvasás is the act of reading. So when you go to a famous author's reading, that's what you do. That's what olvasás is. Now then, what is olvasások? And I know that if you're watching this, you might already know that it's the K is always, all the time, is the plural. And there you go. And one could even say that with this logic, with this train of thoughts, we could even sort of, let's say, prove that English and Hungarian are quite similar when it comes to attachments. And well, you're not wrong. English and Hungarian are similar, but also the other many thousands of languages. Because in every single language there is at least a tiny bit of putting attachments onto the end of words. However, Hungarian is a language of attachments. We have very little other things. So, after this, it's very hard for me to continue in the same manner, because if I say olvasok, it means I read, or I'm reading. But what I wanted to mention here is that we have 3 types of attachments. One of them is to completely change the type of the word. In this case, the example reading changed the ash changed the verb into a noun. And there you go. Now, every single attachment has a story like this. And perhaps it's not out of scope of these videos or streamings to go over all of them. But it really is a very complicated task. Now, if we try to look it up, perhaps this is not. Oh yes, there we go. Probably this will be better. Oh yeah. So here you go. These are some of the attachments that can work. Let me make it bigger. I think that would be quite popular with people. So we have 3 different types of attachments. And if you speak a little Hungarian, you can read all of this. It says we can create a new word, which I was talking about before. It doesn't matter what type of words you use. And then but it does tell you, or does give you the type of the word and lots of other stuff. And then there you go. All, L, Z, as, ni, o, et, lots and lots. And these are not all the attachments. But I think the good news is that that's it. This is why we are here. This is Hungarian. Once you go through all the attachments, then you're set for life. Sure, phrasal verbs. Sure, there is a lot and like a bunch of unwritten social rules that you have to go through and all sorts of crazy stuff. But as far as grammar goes, it's all about the attachments. Now, I have a question here. And I like these kind of questions, because as a Hungarian I thrive on questions like this. So, didn't you say that the definite conjugation can be translated as the present continuous? And I don't know, did I? I'm not giving you this as a challenge, I don't remember. But if I said it, it might be true for most cases, but the definite and indefinite are different. Then the truth is that as far as tenses go, information is lost in translation when it comes to the difference between. So English has 12 tenses, Hungarian has 3, but we use 2, present and past. It's as if we didn't really care about all the tenses, which is true. Maybe that's why Hungarians can be late all the time, I don't know. I know people who are late and they are English, so. And there is another question. Munka, munkás. Yes, that would be work, worker, which is nice. It makes sense in English as well. Now, there is something that often comes up when it comes to beginners. The trick is that even though, especially in the beginning, you find plenty of attachments in English, it's very important to remember, and I know I repeat myself quite a lot, but it's part of learning. You have to remember that Hungarian solely deals with attachments and nothing else. So for instance, a sentence like this. Oh, let me put an equal sign there. There you go. A sentence like this might give you a satisfaction because you translated everything. You translated am, which is én, you translated I, which is vagy, you translated túl, which is magas, and there you go. And then I appear out of nowhere and tell you that these kind of pronouns, at least when it comes to my lessons, are frowned upon because they are used for emphasis, and emphasis only. So it's not true that you translated I am with én and vagyok, because then you might just get the brilliant idea of leave ok. But you can't, because as I told you before, Hungarian deals with attachments, and when you do things twice, it means emphasis. So what you have to do is just put the words that are necessary and then deal with everything through attachments. Now I know that quite a lot of you learn Hungarian alone, and that's awesome, because whether you learn Hungarian alone or with a teacher, it doesn't matter. You have to take initiative. And then I always encourage people to do that. Even if you go a bit wrong, it doesn't matter. You have to try to be enthusiastic about things. And then it's very easy to do so when you are enthusiastic about things. So that's awesome. And, right. Now, remember the attachments. Much like in English, you have to use pronouns. And I remember when some people, even when I started learning Hungarian, I had this sentence, which, you know, as a Hungarian I deal with pronouns, I deal with attachments, and I thought that, wow, this seems enough. That's fine. No. And then of course it's not. Because it's not fine at all. That's not how things work. So I guess, all in all, even though I strongly believe that everything has a proper explanation, even if it's crazy and cruel and horrible, it's logical. Because a language is created by humans, and, quite surprisingly enough, we are, who wants to learn the language, are humans. So, because it's created by humans, it has a sort of human logic to it. And that's awesome. Now, I've got another question, which is, somebody's curious, where did you learn to speak English, and have you spent a lot of time in English? Oh, right, yes, well, okay. Now that is a question that is quite fun. It's really, I still have an issue, as in like note about explaining to you what it is like to speak English and Hungarian, like two languages. And I am going to explain this to you while I'm bouncing on my favorite exercise ball. It's completely and utterly not annoying at all. Now, so I have this short story about how I studied English. Now, my parents, when I was little, they thought that, okay, English in school is not very good. I mean, teaching it. That's true. Still not very good in Hungary. We dub everything in movies. I mean, like, we dub movies and TV shows and whatever. We don't have anything subtitled, if all possible. And so that was it. So they thought that if they could afford a teacher who, like a private tutor from Canada, and she taught me for a couple of years, and then I went on myself, and I was speaking fluently even before I went to the UK, but I did go to the UK. Not very long, about 7 months. I worked as an interpreter and like an administrator at a company, a Hungarian company that was doing some business in the UK, and that really helped. But then it also made me realize that if you plan to go to a country without knowing the language on an advanced level, you are going to have a hard time. Because right now you might think that, okay, I don't have much time to learn the language, but when I'm there I will be exposed to the culture and I will have some time. But then you come here most probably to do work or study at a university, and then you will have plenty of time to do that sort of work, but not very much to do this Hungarian learning stuff. So that's the problem. And I guess this is the short story of the way I learned English. I spent countless hours. So don't get me wrong. Let's say 5-6 years with a teacher. Then alone I did, I don't know, 4-5 years, maybe a bit more. So let's say 10. And then I have been teaching English for 10 years now, more than 10 years to be honest. So that's 20 years of experience on some level. So that's the kind of time we are talking about here. So that's no very good news, I guess. If you know, I mean, I don't want to discourage someone who wants to learn Hungarian. It's just it takes a couple of years. So yeah, now, and we are back, it seems. Oh, good lord, this is quite lovely, I would say. There is no reason for the computer to crash, but I did just quickly start streaming after doing stuff, but it seems that also are lost all the things. Well, not everything, but what I was talking about before. That sucks. Well, let's go on then. If nothing happened. So, question. Lots of a hyphen before the accusative T. When we have to use it? Well, unfortunately, I have to say that we do not use any hyphen in Hungarian. We only have the letters, and the letters with the accent marks. So I have to ask you to explain it, or just give me some examples, because again, there shouldn't be anything. You might think of altering words to make a out of a, but you just please clarify it, because I'm not sure what you are talking about here. So that's all there is to it, it seems. So I was trying to explain crazy stuff, and then I went into explaining more crazy stuff, and there we are, after the crash, losing most things. Quite annoying, I would say. Now, okay, so here we go. Let's do something that I have to figure it out first, because then again I seem to lose things. Okay, now I think once and for all we can just get rid of this item on the list, which is tegezés, magázás. Let me explain. Tegezés is informal, and magázás is formal. These are not just attachments. Now okay, not sure how much German you speak per se, but if you are German or know a little bit of German, you know that it's a great example, because German uses pronouns just as English, just like English. So I becomes ich, and then you becomes du, and all sorts of stuff. But you reach they, and then English stops. It's like I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. And then German has another one, which is very, very similar to the one before. It's Z, but you write it with a capital letter. Look how much of a communist I am. So write it with a capital letter. But in Hungarian, we have that, and it's a separate pronoun, and but usually the attachments are third person. So instead of referring to you, I'm referring to you as he, she, or it. However, grammatically it's that simple, but the way you execute it is quite complicated, because it's not just that grammatical stuff, it's all the cultural implications you have to follow. So, to be honest, the reason I discourage everyone to learn formal is not because you don't need a challenge. You definitely need a challenge. It's a good challenge. But for a person who is beginner or intermediate in Hungarian, is severely out of scope. It has a lot of cultural things, and even Hungarians, my generation or the generation after me, people younger, they tend to screw up. So, yeah. Alright, now, I would say that this is more or less, that's it for today. I know it's very short, and with all the computer crashing and crazy stuff. But then we have to draw the line somewhere. So today we talked about the importance of attachments. And then I guess later on we could go on and then just do other things. So I guess all I need to say is goodbye and thank you for just being here. It really means a lot, because I do like streaming, and I realized I do like it more as opposed to just making videos. So I guess I have made the sort of decisions that must be made at some point. And instead of coming out with the fourth season or continuing the third season of Learn Hungarian, this will be the Learn Hungarian series, TV show, whatever. So, good night everyone, or good morning or afternoon, wherever you are right now. And I hope that you enjoy this streaming, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Just goodbye and thank you. And also some cows, because cows are very, very important. Everybody should recognize that.